Never again. Remembering the atrocities of the Nazi past is at the core of Germany's identity, but there's growing resistance to this principle.
The next step is denying or relativizing the Holocaust.
All I can say is we won't be intimidated.
While some AfD politicians play down Nazi crimes, far-right incidents are becoming increasingly common. The AfD is on its way to becoming the strongest party in a number of states.
Holen wir uns unser Land zurück!
What do these developments mean for Germany's culture of remembrance? Here in this apartment in Leipzig, Eastern Germany, the past is being kept alive by modern means.
My name is Susie, I'm 32 and I make TikTok videos about Nazi crimes. 5 facts about the Ravensbrück concentration camp. How many did you know? It's been a good week. 12 million views in the last 30 days. I think a lot of people still think TikTok is just makeup tips, dance routines, and food. But that's nonsense. You can reach a lot of people with serious topics too.
Susanne Siegert wants to show young people in particular what the Nazi past has to do with them now and in the future, and why it's important not to forget history.
My aim is to give a voice to people who no longer have one because they were murdered. I see it as our responsibility as Germans to talk about these things.
Ensuring that Nazi crimes are never forgotten is at the heart of Germany's culture of remembrance. From 1933 to 1945, the Nazis under Hitler systematically murdered many millions of people. In addition to the genocide of the Jews, other population groups throughout Europe were also targets of the atrocities and mass murder campaigns, as were many minorities and political opponents in Germany. Susanne fervently believes that we can still learn from this dark chapter in history.
It could have happened to any one of us. We always, rightly, talk about the 6 million Jews who were murdered. But if you were queer, if you had a disability, if you were in the resistance, it could have been you too. So I think we need to show that it was a vast system of discrimination and persecution, and that's why we need to keep examining this topic, because it affects us all.
Susanne gets a lot of positive feedback, but she's also seeing increased pressure from the extreme right, which has long been active on social media, playing down Nazi crimes and trying to draw a line under the past and the remembrance of this era. A dangerous development, says Susanne.
I see a lot of people saying it's enough. The next step is denying or relativizing the Holocaust.
A project by a German artist, the Stolpersteine, or Stumbling Stones, commemorate victims of the Nazi regime.
The father, Simon Silberberg, was murdered in Auschwitz. The mother too. Daughter Sarah was able to flee to England.
Susanne helped pay for the stones to be laid here to keep the memory of the Silberbergs alive.
The idea with these stumbling stones is that when you stumble across them, they make you think. They make you aware of where you live, what you walk past every day, that this was a neighborhood where Jewish families lived who were deported and in many cases murdered.
Susanne hopes her TikTok videos can have a similar effect. Keeping the past alive is also this man's mission. Jens Christian Wagner is the director of the Buchenwald Memorial Foundation.
Germany reinvented itself after the war as a democratic state that respects and values the human rights of all people. That is the lesson of the Nazi crimes, and essentially the core of our culture of remembrance.
The Buchenwald Memorial is in Thuringia in eastern Germany, a state where the far-right AfD could become the strongest force in the upcoming state elections this fall, a first for a far-right party in regional elections since the Nazi era. Here in the Buchenwald concentration camp, the Nazis imprisoned more than 240,000 people. Gabor and Justin are here on a school trip. They're from the state of Hessen, a 3-hour coach ride away.
This is what it looked like in April 1945, when the camp was liberated by US soldiers. There were still barracks everywhere. They were so full, so overcrowded, that the inmates didn't have enough space to lie down to sleep. They had to sleep in shifts.
Justin has never visited a former concentration camp before. There's increasing pressure to make such visits compulsory for school children in Germany. The bodies of prisoners were sent to this crematorium.
It feels weird. It's hard to grasp what happened. What happened exactly here, where we are. It's shocking that all these innocent people were killed here.
It's a memorable day for these 10th graders from Hessen. How has it made them feel?
I may not look it, but I'm German. My father is German. I was born in Germany. In all honesty, my granddad was probably a Nazi. It's important not to dismiss that and say, what does it have to do with me? It does have something to do with us. It's our past. It's important to acknowledge that in order to actively prevent it ever happening again.
There's growing resistance to the way history is looked at. More than a third of Germans want a line to be drawn under the past. Among AfD supporters, that figure is almost twice as high. To Eva Umlauf, that's a worrying development. She's a Holocaust survivor and regularly talks to young people about what happened. She has a number tattooed on her arm.
I see it every day. It's part of me. It's not that I think of Auschwitz every day, but it's there. It reminds me that I survived.
Eva Umlauf was deported to Auschwitz in 1944 when she was 2. She survived only because the Nazis had stopped sending people to the gas chambers shortly before the camp was liberated. Today she fears for the future of Germany. Could history repeat itself?
I'm here to issue a warning. Young people need to know what happened in the past, in the Nazi times. They need to listen to eyewitnesses, because soon we'll all be gone. I was very struck by the parallels she sees between then and now. How the right-wing parties came to power then, and now it's very frightening.
Eva wants the younger generations to keep telling her story when she's gone. Back to Thuringia and the director of the Buchenwald Memorial. He tells us that attacks on Nazi-era memorial sites are increasing.
A swastika. Hatred spelled out in SS symbols. This sign points the way to a site where 7,000 Soviet prisoners of war were shot in 1941. And someone has defaced it with a swastika.
Nazi symbols are banned in Germany. Displaying them is a punishable offence, yet they are appearing more and more frequently in public. Has the far right become mainstream in German society? Jens Christian Wagner believes that the rise of the far-right AfD is fueling resistance to Germany's culture of remembrance.
Right-wing extremists, including in the AfD but also beyond it, a whole far-right scene, take a very critical view of memorial work because they have a nationalist worldview and want to take pride in German history. But the Holocaust is nothing to be proud of. So these people try to play down, trivialize, relativize, or even deny Nazi crimes.
oder sogar zu leugnen.
Unsere Vorfahren waren keine Verbrecher. Wir haben allen Grund, stolz auf unser Land zu sein.
Hitler und die Nazis sind nur ein Vogelschiss in über 1000 Jahre erfolgreicher deutscher Geschichte.
Wir brauchen nichts anderes als eine erinnerungspolitische Wende um 180 Grad.
Nationalismus raus aus den Köpfen!
People all over the country are taking to the streets to refute such statements and protest against the far right. Activist Susanne Siegert is giving her first speech in Leipzig today. Many here know her from her videos.
This is a whole different level. This isn't like making a TikTok video.
She uses her speech to build a bridge between the past and present.
Do you think you would have resisted the Nazi regime? There are small ways we can resist fascism and right-wing extremism, and there are big ways. We need to step up and take these steps every single day. It was over fast.
Events like these spur Susanne on, even if she worries about the future. In the European elections, almost a third of voters in Saxony, where Susanne lives, supported the AfD.
The state election this fall, here in Saxony and also in other states, is the more important one. I think it's an election that will also have a major impact on memorial work. It's clear that if the AfD has any say, funding for memorial work will be cut, for example. It'll have a direct effect on the future of memorial work in many German states.
There have been threats, including against me personally. What we're seeing right now is serious. All I can say is we won't be intimidated. And we will not cave in to the far right. We will continue to advocate for a critical examination of Nazi crimes, for a debate that honours the victims of Nazi crimes.
Für eine Auseinandersetzung, die die Opfer der NS-Verbrechen würdigt.